So it seems like Donald Trump is going to be trying to make a return to social media. Now, I feel like we all kind of saw this coming at some point, whether or not these big tech companies, these social media companies like Facebook, Twitter, etc., all decided to unban Trump. A lot of them still have like indefinite suspensions and things like that, aka permanent bans up against Trump because of especially what happened at the Capitol back in January where they say that he incited this. So it's pretty unlikely that he'll ever make a return to something like Twitter or Facebook, but apparently Donald Trump will be trying to start his own social media brand, his own company with his own network. Now, this was starting to hit the news pretty heavily yesterday, and I'm not sure how much people are aware of this, but yeah, Donald Trump is trying to start his own social media platform to make his comeback with. Former President Donald Trump is coming back to social media, but this time with his own network, a Trump spokesperson told Fox News on Sunday. Jason Miller, a longtime advisor and spokesperson for Trump's 2020 campaign, told Howard Kurtz on Fox's Media Buzz that Trump will be, quote, returning to social media in probably about 2 to 3 months. He then added Trump's return will be with, quote, his own platform that will attract, quote, tens of millions of new users and, quote, completely redefine the game. This is something that I think will be the hottest ticket in social media, Miller told Kurtz. It's going to completely redefine the game, and everybody is going to be waiting and watching to see what President Trump does, but it will be his own platform. Miller said that during his appearance on Fox News that the former president had been approached by numerous companies and is in talks with teams about the new platform. This new platform is going to be big, Miller said on Sunday. Everyone wants him, and he's going to bring millions and millions, tens of millions, to this platform. The announcement comes after Trump was permanently suspended from Twitter and other social media platforms such as Facebook following his incitement of the U.S. Capitol riots on January 6th, where hundreds of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol building, leaving 5 people dead. Following Trump's ban on Twitter, Jared Kushner, the former president's son-in-law and senior advisor, intervened when other aides attempted to get Trump on fringe social media platforms such as Parler and Gab. Now, the problem with these quote-unquote fringe social media platforms is, number one, they're pretty underdeveloped. I know a lot of people love to like tout these as like, oh, these are the true social medias. This is where it really is. It really isn't. I mean, the websites are very basic. They don't have anything close to the features that other social medias do. They have basic news feeds and following/friend request features. They basically have the bare minimum of what makes a social media, and then when you go onto these platforms, they realistically only have right-wing people on them. I mean, you're not going to go on Parler and Gab and it not be anything less than like 90 to 95% right-wing people already. Sure, you have the occasional person on there to like kind of, I guess, peep out what's going on or whatever, but these platforms have already built up quite a reputation, and it's pretty hard to just get people running to it. Now, I feel this may be the same way that this Trump social media thing could end up going, because obviously it's probably not just going to be like a bunch of liberals that are running onto the platform and like having a great time, right? But I do think that Trump's social media concept is extremely realistic. I feel like a lot of people are doubting the ability that this guy has. First, you got to look at the financial incentive. I mean, Donald Trump is a billionaire, so he already has the money, basically, to pull something like this off. He's not going to have to really rely on anybody else to fund it. Number two, he's got a guaranteed user base simply because of his fans. I mean, even though, like, Trump's been out of office for, almost 3 months now. Next month, it'll be 3 months. It actually just turned 2 months. But, for a few months now, we'll say, right? Even though he's been out of office, you still have people with, like, Trump bumper stickers on with, like, Make America Great Again hats, and they've got flags on their cars and stuff like that still. I mean, people idolizing Trump hasn't really went away. People still think that he was robbed of the election. People still think that, like, there's a lot of conspiracies against him and conservatives in general. So he has an established user base, and that's realistically all a social media actually needs to guarantee a success, because at that point, it's easy to pull in advertisers, right? Now, you might be sitting there thinking like, oh, well, Optimus, I mean, Trump is so controversial with the Capitol thing going on, of course, and then like all of the stuff that happened during his presidency and whatnot. The sad fact of the matter here is I feel like people don't realize companies don't care when money's involved. I know that people think that because of like the adpocalypses here on YouTube and whatnot, that like these social media companies are vulnerable to, I guess, like ad boycotts. They absolutely are not. The truth of the matter is internet advertising is the sole method of advertising at this point. It's way more affordable than TV or traditional advertising is, especially on a website about Trump, right? Like a Trump social media, where it's going to basically, especially at the beginning, be basically his supporters. You already have all of the marketing done for you, right? You have your ages, you have your demographics of people. You've already got that all lined up, right? It's going to be cheap, effective marketing, and then especially if it ends up drawing a massive user base, companies are not going to want to miss out on advertising their products on these websites and having these potential customers. I mean, like Trump or hate Trump, you have to realize that this is going to be a golden opportunity for him, man. I mean, he's going to finally be able to return to social media in a way. He's got a pretty much guaranteed project here. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to succeed, but I think the chances of it doing at least okay, you know, at least serving its purpose to Donald Trump, are pretty high, honestly. I mean, because with that kind of money, you're not going to have to rely on web hosting services that can take your website down if they disagree with what you say. You're not going to have to worry about investors coming in and helping you build a project. You're not going to have to worry about how am I going to get users on the platform. The moment that Trump comes out with a public statement that he's building a social media, it hits the mainstream news. So when it actually launches, it's going to also garner mainstream news. Now, I guess the point behind this platform is to provide like a quote-unquote free speech area or whatever, right? They're still debating some of the technicalities based on like world leaders, what they can and can't say or do on their platform. They're still working a lot of things out with this, but it's starting to look like in the next few months, we're going to be getting a brand new social media built by Donald Trump to kind of help him return to the internet, okay? So when it comes down to it, man, I do think also that he can also really honestly build a pretty good crowd of people who are there simply just to see what he says, right? The thing about Trump's Twitter especially is he honestly tweeted some funny shit from time to time. I mean, even if you don't like him, I think we can agree he's got some golden tweets. I mean, I made a whole video kind of going over some of Trump's best tweets, right? His funniest tweets. There's people who are legitimately interested in just seeing what Donald Trump has to say who aren't even necessarily fans of him. And this even includes people who dislike him. I mean, I'm pretty certain that while there probably won't be any vast majority of the user base or anything, you're going to have people like from the left wing and stuff like that who despise Trump, who are going to be jumping on this platform on day one to kind of see what the vibe's like, to see if anything crazy is happening, to see if Trump says anything wreck. These kinds of things are possibilities, and in all reality, I think they're going to end up likelihoods at the end of all of this. So when it comes down to it, right, is Facebook in trouble? Is Twitter in trouble? Well, I don't think that Donald Trump's social media is going to come along and kill all the major tech websites or anything crazy like that. I don't foresee that whatsoever, but I think if anyone should really be worried in the social media game, it's websites like Parler and Gab. Because these websites, to Trump's supporters and conservatives, people who are more likely to back Donald Trump, of course, these two alternative websites in particular have proven essential in them running from mainstream social media. And these platforms, like I said, have the bare minimum. They have no affiliation, of course, with Trump, their individual platforms and whatnot, but a Trump-built platform that potentially has more features and more users and more name recognition than any of these websites, it's going to draw in the main people that they're targeting, right? These apps, you know, your Parlers, your Gabs, they're targeting primarily conservatives with their marketing tactics, right? Like, hey, this is the website of free speech and whatnot. If you're a conservative and you're being censored on Twitter, you can come here. Well, if Trump has one of these, you know, what's the purpose of Gab still, right? What's the purpose of Parler still? Because they're not going to have the finances to compete with Donald Trump. They're not going to have the user base to compete with Donald Trump, right? So either they're going to have to sort of redefine what they want to do as companies, I think, or they're just going to get swept up in the whirlwind. In terms of your Facebooks and your Twitters, I think it's pretty obvious that nothing significant is going to happen to these companies. Sure, they might lose users in the short term, but people who dislike the Trump platform are, of course, going to be pretty much forced to come back because there's no other good social medias. And when the novelty of it wears down to people who just want to see the shit that he says, they're probably also going to come back here too. And they still have, of course, the user bases and whatnot to pull advertisements, so I don't see these companies being taken down by any sort of Trump platform. But I mean, the concept itself is just very interesting. It's definitely pretty weird news, but it's something that, honestly, I'm kind of ready for, right? I'm kind of ready to see how this whole thing's going to play out. I mean, at the very best, it could end up, I guess, being an okay social media platform if it's not completely taken over by people supporting Trump only, and then, like, you know, there's no real sharing of ideas, because I think that's the problem with a lot of social media now, is you can't really share ideas without groups of people fucking attacking you. So if they can maintain, like, a better user experience there, and it actually is, like, an open conversation, and there's good features, and they find a way to actually make it a full-fledged platform, I mean, sure, it could end up an alternative that people actually end up using, but time's really going to have to tell on this one whether or not this is going to become anything of recognition, I guess, to the general public. So with that being said, though, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, watching Trump build his next Facebook, and signing out.